$17 for a cheeseburger, $16 for a plate of spaghetti, a 4-piece chicken box that opens to 2 little wings, cold burgers, shrinking portions, frozen food sold at sit-down prices. And here's what no one in corporate wants to say out loud. Millions of customers looked at all of it, did the math, and decided they were done. These 12 restaurant chains aren't dying from the economy. They're dying because the people they counted on are fighting back. Number 12, Boston Market. We start with a name that used to feel like a warm kitchen you didn't have to clean. Less than 10 years ago, Boston Market was an empire with more than 1,200 locations, golden rotisserie chicken, mashed potatoes, buttery corn, a home-cooked dinner without the work. For millions of families, this was the stop after a long, exhausting day. But the moment grocery stores started selling whole rotisserie chickens for under $5, customers ran the numbers, and the answer was brutal. Why pay restaurant prices for a single plate when the supermarket sells the entire bird for less? People didn't wait for permission. They just stopped coming. Behind the scenes came debts to suppliers, fights with landlords, and complaints from former workers about unpaid wages. And the chain that once felt unstoppable shrank in a way that's almost hard to believe. From more than 1,200 locations, Boston Market now has fewer than 30 restaurants left in the entire country. More than 97% of the empire is simply gone. Even in Massachusetts, the state where it was born, the last store closed in 2025. Drive past one of those old buildings today, and you'll see weeds pushing up through a parking lot that used to be full. Boston Market is the first warning on this list, and it teaches the lesson the rest will repeat. The second customers stop believing in the value, no amount of nostalgia can save you. Leaving that empty parking lot behind, we come to a chain that's still standing, but only just. Number 11, TGI Fridays. There was a time when Fridays was where the week ended and the weekend began. Loud music, full booths, drinks with friends. A place that felt like a celebration in a building. But heading into 2026, that feeling is gone. Since 2024, TGI Fridays has been grinding through Chapter 11 bankruptcy, buried under tens of millions of dollars in debt. From hundreds of locations across the country, only around 80 are still operating in the United States today. And here's the part customers simply won't forgive. Walk into many of these restaurants and the inside still feels frozen somewhere around 2007. The same tired booths, the same dated walls, but the prices climbed as if the food had transformed. It didn't. Diners started feeling like they were paying premium money for reheated microwaved versions of dishes they remembered tasting fresh. As one viewer put it, $10 a person is now common for what used to cost $6. So they made the only move that actually hurts a corporation. They stopped showing up. Those big Fridays dining rooms that once roared on a Saturday night now sit quiet even during peak hours. Half the table's empty. The company keeps announcing turnarounds, but customers already delivered their verdict by staying home. Fridays didn't lose to a recession. It lost the night people decided the celebration wasn't worth the check. From a fading sit-down chain, we moved to a fast food name a lot of people grew up on. Number 10, Hardee's. At its peak, Hardee's grew to nearly 3,000 locations, charbroiled burgers, towering biscuits, a brand stitched into small towns across the South and the Midwest. But today, the Hardee system operates around 1,600 locations, a sharp fall from those peak years, and several major franchise operators have filed for bankruptcy in recent years, dragging dozens of restaurants down with them across multiple states. Ask customers what finally broke the trust, and they won't point to one big scandal. They'll point to the everyday experience that wore them down. One person described waiting nearly 20 minutes in a drive-thru with only a few cars ahead. Others talk about locations that were always out of whatever you actually ordered, and a few that got temporarily shut down by the health department before closing for good. And all of that while a simple burger combo crept up toward $14 or $15. That's the math that ended it. People will forgive a slow line, and they'll forgive a price hike on its own. They will not forgive paying more, waiting longer, and getting less, all at the same time. So they stopped pulling in, one skipped lunch at a time, and the traffic that kept those restaurants alive simply rerouted somewhere else. Hardee's didn't get beaten by a competitor with a better burger. It got walked away from by customers who ran out of reasons to stay. Number 9, Applebee's. The eternal neighborhood grill, the place that built its whole identity on the promise that this was where you belonged. For years, that worked beautifully. Applebee's was familiar, affordable, the easy answer when nobody felt like cooking. But by 2026, Applebee's is quietly shrinking. Its parent company has closed wave after wave of locations and openly said more cuts are still coming. And the reason is the exact grievance customers keep repeating in comment after comment. Prices went up sharply to cover rising costs, but the food quality did not climb with them. Loyal diners started feeling like they were paying real restaurant prices for reheated industrial food, smaller portions, and flavors that tasted like they came straight out of a freezer bag. The neighborhood grill stopped feeling like a deal and started feeling like a trap with a familiar logo. So people quietly carried their money somewhere else, to a local spot, a family kitchen, anywhere that felt honest about what it charged. Customers named the machine behind it too. The same complaint everywhere. Brands bought by investment firms, everything cheapened to squeeze a bigger margin, because a healthy profit was never enough to satisfy shareholders who always demanded more. Today, you can drive past an Applebee's where the sign is still lit, but the parking lot sits empty and the neon out front is fading. The brand that once called itself everyone's neighborhood restaurant now feels distant and easy to forget. Applebee's is proof of one hard truth. The moment a familiar name stops delivering real value, the very people who built it will leave it behind without a second look. Number 8, Subway. At its height, this was the undisputed giant of fast food. Once operating close to 27,000 locations in the United States, more sandwich shops than any other chain in the country. Subway was everywhere. Inside gas stations and shopping centers, the cheap, fast, customizable lunch everyone could count on. But thousands of those locations have closed over the past decade as the company keeps restructuring a massive franchise network. And the cheap part, the entire reason Subway existed, quietly fell apart. Customers remember the precise moment they checked out. One described stopping in back in 2021 for a wrap, a sandwich, and 2 small bags of chips, no drinks, and walking out having paid over $30. That same shock repeated itself in towns all over the country. And people drew the obvious conclusion: if a sandwich shop charges as much as a sit-down meal, why settle for the sandwich at all? Some still defend it for the customization, the herb and cheese bread you genuinely can't make at home. But loyalty built on a value promise does not survive once the value disappears. Franchise owners felt the squeeze too, caught between rising costs and customers who simply stopped walking in. New owners kept right on restructuring, but you cannot restructure your way back into the wallet of a customer who already decided a footlong isn't worth the price of a sit-down dinner. Subway is bleeding out slowly, one shuttered storefront at a time, because the people who made it the biggest chain in America decided it was no longer cheap enough or good enough to be worth the stop. Number 7, Hooters. 2 decades ago, Hooters was a phenomenon. Crispy wings, cold beer, televisions playing football on every wall. From a single Florida restaurant, it grew into an empire of more than 430 locations at its peak. But by 2026, that empire is folding. The chain now operates fewer than 100 restaurants in the United States. It has been closing locations across multiple states from Florida and Texas to Virginia, and it's moved through Chapter 11, restructuring after same-store sales fell for years. The deeper reason isn't only the food, it's that the entire concept drifted out of step with the customers it needed to survive. Younger diners turned away, seeing the model as dated and forced. And the older regulars from the 80s and 90s grew up, started families, and stopped wanting to bring everyone into a place built around a gimmick. As those customers vanished, Hooters cut costs, and the wings that once gave people a reason to defend the brand turned dry, oversalted, and obviously frozen. The prices, naturally, did not come down. So even the loyalists ran clean out of excuses. Hooters is paying the full price for clinging to a formula long after the people stopped buying into it. A brand once considered untouchable is now quietly vanishing from the map. Not because some recession reached out and killed it, but because its own customers outgrew it and walked away for good. Number 6. Outback Steakhouse. For a lot of families, Outback used to be the default choice for a special dinner. The steak night, the anniversary, the booth you reserve for a birthday. But by 2026, Outback has fallen into a genuine cost nightmare. In early 2025, parent company Bloomin' Brands suddenly closed 41 restaurants. And these were not forgotten locations in dying corners of the map. They were real stores in real markets. The reason comes down to one brutal number. Dinner for a family of 4 at Outback can now easily hit $160 to $220. And customers have started doing something corporations clearly never planned for. They're running the comparison out loud. $200 for a heavy, greasy meal with portions that keep shrinking, or fresh ingredients from the grocery store cooked at home for less than half the price. People even started showing the receipts. A $5 grocery chicken, a bag of potatoes, a little gravy and corn, dinner for 4 for a couple of dollars a head, versus $200 at the booth. Even the famous onion appetizer that helped build the brand has become a symbol of the problem. A single order packing close to 2,000 calories that fewer people feel good about paying a premium for. The special occasion magic only works when the occasion actually feels worth it. Once families started leaving Outback feeling robbed instead of celebrated, the reservations dried up. This is what fighting back looks like at the upper end of the menu. Just arithmetic done quietly at the kitchen table. And the arithmetic has stopped landing in Outback's favor. Number 5. Cracker Barrel. Few chains lean on nostalgia as hard as Cracker Barrel. The rocking chairs on the porch, the old country store, the feeling of stepping into a simpler time the moment you walk in. For decades, that feeling was the entire product. But in 2026, Cracker Barrel is under serious pressure, shrinking its footprint, closing some locations, and pausing expansion plans across many areas. And the wound here is partly self-inflicted in a way customers took very personally. The brand spent so long chasing a fresher, more modern image that it started alienating the exact base that kept it alive. The regulars who came precisely because nothing ever changed. When you sell comfort and familiarity for a living, the fastest way to lose customers is to start messing with them. Add in the same creeping prices and the same shrinking value showing up across this entire list. The same $10 a head for what used to feel like a $6 comfort meal. And even Cracker Barrel's loyal crowd started asking the one question that ends every brand on this countdown. Is this still worth it? A lot of them answered by simply not making the drive anymore. The porch sits quieter now. The country store leaves fewer hands on the shelves. And a chain that built its whole identity on never changing is learning the hard way that breaking faith with your most loyal customers is the single change they will never forgive. Nostalgia brought them in for decades, but it could not make them stay once the value was gone. Number 4, Chipotle. This one stings because Chipotle was supposed to be the winner, the fresh, fast, modern answer to everything wrong with old fast food. And for a while, it genuinely was. But by 2026, the picture has shifted. And the shift is being driven by customers who feel openly cheated. A meal at Chipotle can now easily hit $18 to $25 for a single person. And the complaint isn't only the price, it's the portions sitting inside the bowl. People started filming their own orders, comparing the half-empty container they paid for against everything the brand promised, and posting it for millions to see. That is not quiet decline. That is an organized revolt. Customers turned the company's own counter into a battleground, asking for the exact scoop they paid for and calling out every order that came up short. Whole comment sections became a scoreboard. Regulars trading tips on which location skimp, a customer base policing the brand because the brand stopped policing itself. Chipotle built its entire brand on the idea of honest, generous, real food, and the instant customers felt that promise being quietly shrunk to protect a margin, they weaponized the brand's own image against it. The lesson here is sharper than anywhere else on this list. You can survive being expensive, and you can survive being trendy. What you cannot survive is a loyal customer base that suddenly feels lied to and happens to have a camera in every pocket and an audience one tap away. Number 3, KFC. It's almost hard to believe a legend like KFC sits this high on a list of chains in trouble. While fried chicken itself is booming, with Chick-fil-A lines wrapping around buildings and Raising Cane's expanding like crazy, KFC, the original king, is losing badly on its own home turf. Sales have fallen across multiple quarters, and that pressure has forced the chain to keep shrinking, closing hundreds of restaurants in weaker markets in recent years. But ask the actual customers why, and they don't talk about the economy, they talk about betrayal. They remember when a bucket and sides was an easy $18 family dinner you grabbed on the way home from work. Now many say a single family meal can climb past $40 or even $50. They open a box expecting the chicken they grew up on, and instead, find pieces they swear are shrinking by the year, sitting right next to a grocery deli counter selling bigger chicken for less. They complain the original flavor tastes nothing like it used to, too salty, too soaked in oil, and some go further, swearing it's fried in the cheapest oils a corporation can find while the company keeps getting greedier. Some say it flat out, that they want the brand gone for good. That is not a customer base drifting away by accident. It's one that feels insulted and is rooting for the fall. KFC spent decades earning a sacred place in people's memories, and then spent a few short years teaching those same people that the memory was worth far more than the meal. An empire that once completely owned fried chicken is now watching its own loyalists cheer for its collapse. Number 2, Starbucks. For years, Starbucks wasn't really selling coffee. It was selling a ritual. The warm cup in your hand, the name scrawled on the side, the third place that sat between work and home. But by 2026, that ritual is cracking. Many locations now feel noticeably quieter. The wait times feel longer, and the staffing feels thinner, stretched by a company working hard to protect its margins. And customers have answered with something that genuinely rattles a brand this enormous deliberate restraint. The $5, $6, $7 daily latte became the single easiest line item to cut the moment household budgets tightened, and people started treating skipping Starbucks as a small daily act of pushing back. Not because they couldn't afford it once, but because they finally asked whether they should be affording it every single day, and quietly decided the answer was no. That is the most dangerous kind of customer revolt there is. The calm, rational kind. The kind where nobody storms out and nobody files a complaint. They simply stop. The mobile order pile growing on the counter while 2 overwhelmed baristas fall further behind only made it easier to walk out. A brand built almost entirely on habit is discovering that habits can be broken on purpose, and that when millions of people break the very same habit at the very same time, the line that used to wrap out the door just isn't there anymore. Starbucks didn't get out-competed on flavor. It got quietly fired, one skipped morning at a time. And that brings us to number 1, Red Lobster, the chain that turned everything on this list from a feeling into a national headline. In 2024, Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy with more than $1 billion in debt and was forced to close nearly 100 restaurants in one of the biggest shocks the industry has seen in years. The endless shrimp deal everyone loves to blame was only the symptom. The real story is the one customers themselves keep telling, and it is the angriest thread running underneath this entire countdown. Red Lobster was bought, squeezed, and gutted by investors who never came to run a restaurant. They came to extract value from one. The very real estate the restaurant sat on was sold off and then rented right back to the operator, loading the business with rent it could never crawl out from under. Corners were cut, quality fell, prices rose, and when the whole thing finally collapsed, the people who engineered it walked away from the wreckage perfectly fine. This is the villain customers in the comments have been pointing at the entire time. Private equity buying up beloved chains, cheapening everything to chase a fatter margin, then cashing out on the way down. Red Lobster sits at number 1 because it is the clearest proof of what people already know in their gut. These restaurants did not fail because customers ran out of money. They failed because customers finally understood the game that was being played on them and flatly refused to keep paying to lose it. These chains didn't lose to the economy, they lost to you. Subscribe to see who falls next.